Conference season is hotting up. We're in the middle of summer. There are so many events going on. If you're in the games industry, we've got Develop coming up imminently. We've got Gamescom later on in the summer. There's loads of expos. There's loads of networking events. There's just so much going on. Now, if you're anything like me, these events are exciting. I can't wait to catch up with so many friends that I only ever seem to see at these events. But also, they're exhausting. I feel so depleted after each of them. And it always seems a little bit disproportionate, the amount of exhaustion I feel to what I actually did. I'm not running a flipping marathon. I'm just stood around chatting to people. I'm often just wandering around, probably going to go sit on the beach in Brighton. It doesn't seem that hard. And yet I always feel like I've been hit by a bus when I get home. So I've been thinking about all my coping strategies and coming at it also with that lens of the newly diagnosed neurodivergence. And I'm going to put together all of my sort of learnings from previous events and combining that with like the unmasked ADHD side and just put all these things together to not only help myself, this is going to become my little list of things I need to remember, but also to hopefully help you as well, because I'm sure I am not the only one who gets excited for a conference, gets really hyped up and can't wait, but then almost immediately feels absolutely exhausted within the first few hours. So let's talk about how we can survive networking events, expos, conferences, exhibitions, all of those things in a way that isn't going to destroy us. If you're new here, welcome to The Reset with me, Kat Burton. This is a show for anybody who looks fine on the outside, but on the inside might be struggling. If you're burned out, if you're overwhelmed, feeling lost, maybe a bit misaligned, we're going to get through it together, one small step at a time. So let's talk about why conferences are so draining. And we will talk about tips in a bit, but I think it's worth understanding why these things impact us, why you feel so exhausted, because it's not just like normal tiredness after a day of work. It's like this really special kind of like depleted, like completely done. And some of these are neurodivergent. Some of these are just neurotypical and probably impact many people. But I want to try and cover lots of them to help you realize that it's not just you. It's probably most people, right? So a big one, sensory overload. The rooms are loud. It is so hard to hear a conversation. It takes so much concentration. There are crowds. You're constantly jostling around with people. You're trying to like walk somewhere really quickly, but you can't because there's so much going on. It's this constant noise. It's overwhelming. There's the unfamiliar environments, the bad lighting. Oh my God, the bad lighting. Like those rooms that don't have any windows, but they've got the bright lights and they're hot and it just feels oppressive. It's just overwhelming for all of our senses. And you're going to be working overtime, just processing all of it, because if you're used to working at home or even working in a co-working space or in an office, that's a very different vibe to a conference. And it takes a lot of mental energy just to get through it. Another big one, social performance. You're kind of on, like you might be performing, you might be going in en masse. I'm going to try and do Develop en masse, but we'll see how I get on. You're constantly like putting forward your best foot. Every conversation you have, you're going to be paying extra attention. You're meeting people. You're going to be trying to be active listening. You're going to be being polite. You're going to want to put forward that version of you that is more acceptable to others. And this is particularly true if you're neurodivergent. It can be really, really difficult. You can get stuck in conversations that you might not want to be in. It can be very, very exhausting, putting forward that version of you, sort of in a form of masking, right? Sort of just performing the best version of you. There's often a lot of decision fatigue at conferences in particular. If I look at the schedule for things, there's so many social events, there's so many meetups around the periphery of a conference. There's the conference tracks themselves. There's a constant list of who you might want to talk to, what you want to say, which sessions you should attend, where you're going to eat, what time you're going to get there today, when should you leave? Do you need to go and take a break because you're overwhelmed? It's like constant decisions. And normally you don't have to make that many decisions during a day. And that can be incredibly overwhelming. Quite often we don't have enough recovery time during a conference. it can be very, very overwhelming, not only like with the stimulation and everything else, but if you don't have chance just to pause and almost bring yourself back down to neutral, it can be exhausting just being hyped up all the time. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is just make sure I put in gaps for lunch, a gap sort of towards the end of the day, but before maybe in the evening socials, maybe just a quiet dinner. Like so many people want to do group lunches, group dinners. And if you've got the energy for that, that's great. But there's lots of us that really don't. And we need that quiet time on our own just to decompress, just go, like the big sigh, just to breathe. And just many of us don't put in that recovery time. I've got better at it over the years, but it can be quite hard to say, hey, look, I know I'm here to see people, but I actually need some time on my own too. It can seem really weird. But if you do that, if you pace yourself, if you put in the recovery, especially on a multi-day conference, you're going to have more stamina. You're going to get through it day by day. Will be so much better than if you deplete yourself on day one. And as I mentioned, there's a whole extra ADHD and neurodivergent dimension. Sort of, there's the sensory overload, there's the social overload. It is so much more difficult than being in a situation you can't predict what's going to happen at a conference. Many of the times we feel like we have to mask, even if we don't want to, even if we're trying to be completely authentic. Quite often, neurodivergent traits, they're still unfortunately not always seen as acceptable to the broader public. And so we do end up masking, even if we don't want to. We have to manage our sensory input. We've got to regulate all that social anxiety, the RSD, the worrying about, have I said something bloody stupid? Because knowing me, I probably will. You're doing so much extra cognitive work. And there'll probably be someone sat next to you or going to a party, and for them it's effortless. And you feel like you need to keep up with them, right? Everybody else is seemingly running at 1,000,000 miles an hour, able to keep up. But for those of us who do struggle, especially like socially, and if we feel like we have to perform, if we have to feel like we're always on, it's exhausting. So please cut yourself some slack if, like me, you're neurodivergent and you need to take a break. Another way everything just seems to be more exhausting with conferences is, of course, the travel. It's the disruption to your routine. You're not eating what you would normally eat. You're not going to the gym. You've not got your usual comforts. You're often staying away in a hotel. Everything's just different. You don't have your familiar things. And all of that just contributes to you feeling absolutely exhausted. Now, understanding all of these things, it doesn't mitigate all of them, but it does help you plan for it. It means you're not going to be burning out on day one of a conference. So let's talk a little bit about the plan for going to the conference before you go. This is where I am at the moment. So I'm recording this 1 week before my talk at Develops. So I'm already thinking about, right, how can I plan this in a way that I won't burn out, which I usually do at a conference. So I'm going to be trying it. I'm going to be trying my best. Number one, know what your goal is. So, many of us go to conferences and go, oh, that's exciting. I can't wait to go. But we often don't have a solid goal or a list of outcomes that we want to get. And so it can be quite difficult to prioritize and make a solid plan if you just don't know what your goals are. So what is your goal? Is it that you want to show someone your pitch? Is it that you want to talk about your product plan with somebody? Are you recruiting? What is it that you want to achieve from your trip? And as soon as you know that, it helps you prioritize, and you can then kind of clear out the deck. You can clear the noise. And so related to that is my number 2, which is planning your schedule. Now, we want to plan a schedule, but we want to leave in breathing room. Book sessions, book meetings that contribute to you achieving your goal. Once you know what that is, book in those things. Anything else is lower priority. Leave in lots of gaps. You want to leave in a gap for maybe a solid breakfast. If you want to work out in the morning, if you want to try and get in a run, if you want to do something for your fitness, for your mental health, make sure you schedule that in. Don't just let people book over it. It's very important that goes in your schedule. Schedule in your lunch, because it's so hard to remember to eat, especially if you're like me. And schedule in a little break, probably at the end of the day before going to any evening things. Give yourself a chance just to reset, recalibrate, refuel, recharge. And quite often, alongside blocking in those things which are mine, their protected time, I do quite like to leave a bit of empty gap. So many of us, we used to go to conferences where we'll fill in every moment, right? I see it on LinkedIn and everything, right? There's lots of people who are trying to fill every moment with meetings constantly. But often what happens when you go to a conference is you'll go to a party, you'll go to an event, you'll go to something, you'll go to a talk, and you'll meet somebody and you go, oh, these people are great. I want to talk to them. I want to grab a coffee with them. But there's no time because you've already crammed your conferences. Just there's no gap for you to be able to do anything. And if you try and squish in more, again, that's where burnout and exhaustion will come. Conferences are so good when you allow for a bit of serendipity. All right. The conversations that are going to happen in the corridor, in the hallway, in the entrance to the exhibition, while you're sat outside just having a coffee, while you're trying to get a bit of fresh air. Try not to fill every single slot. Just prioritize the things that contribute to your goals. And number 3, we're going to research who is going, because quite often many people will pre-fill their calendars. So if there's somebody that you know you want to meet, if there's somebody you know you want to talk to, reach out to them in advance. Say, hey, I've seen you're going to whatever event. I really like your work, or I would love to chat to you about XYZ, whatever it is. If you think that there's someone that it would be good for you to meet, but also maybe where you can give them some value, or you've got something in common, reach out to them. Reach out to them in advance. Another big tip is about packing. Now, it's funny because this might sound so simple, but I always forget. I always forget some of these things. I try and keep a list, but the list is constantly growing with things. So I'm going to mention the things that I'm taking, and my list has changed this time because I'm going with neurodivergence in mind. I need to pack thinking about that. So number 1, comfortable shoes. You're going to be on your feet loads at a conference. Comfortable shoes are non-negotiable. You're going to stand a lot. You're going to walk a lot. You do not want to get blisters. If you think there's a chance of blisters, please pack some plasters. I will often pack plasters anyway. As a woman, I've always got like a full medikit and survival pack in my handbag. But try and make sure you've got comfortable shoes. You want a reusable water bottle. Like, conference venues are dry, they're hot, they've got that awful lighting, and it can be difficult to find water or queue for it. So just make sure you're keeping yourself hydrated. And that ties in with, I love caffeine. I love my coffee in the morning. I kind of need it in the morning, but try to not over caffeinate, because coffee will dehydrate you a bit and it will mask your tiredness. So if you are overextending yourself on day 1 by over caffeinating, you're going to go into day 2 probably dehydrated, having not slept well because the caffeine didn't let you sleep. So think a lot about what you're drinking and make sure you're drinking lots of water. Hand sanitizer, the obvious one, but shaking hands at a conference, you're gonna probably pick up bugs. You're just prime target for everything. If you can protect yourself at a conference, you're going to get back and hopefully not get hit by con flu, because so many of us get that. And also super important, if you are at some sort of gaming expo, or you're going somewhere where people are pitching products or they're handing out demos, you're going to be touching devices that so many people have touched. Wash your hands, take hand sanitizer, just protect yourself. I'll often take Vicks First Defense as well, just because quite often I'll end up with a bit of a scratchy throat or something on like day 2. So I usually will start taking that just to help mitigate anything. Snacks, I'll talk more about this in a bit, but pack yourself some healthy snacks. It's so easy just to rely on junk food and UPFs, and we all know they're utterly delicious, they're utterly addicting, but they don't help us, and they will just contribute to feeling a bit groggy and depleted. Headphones or earbuds. Now, this kind of ties in with some neurodivergence. So if you're traveling, headphones, we know for many of us, we need them anyway. But if you are wanting to signal, I'm not available to talk right now, a big pair of headphones can really help. I know it's very stereotypical for people like me or people with neurodivergence to wear big headphones, but it's just a very good way of saying, I'm not really talking right now. I just need a moment. And even if you're at the conference and you are talking, sometimes those rooms can be very, very overwhelming. So 2 tips for anybody at, honestly, this counts for conferences, it counts for networking events, counts everywhere. And you'll see I often do this in the podcast now because I let myself be fully en masse when doing this. Always got a stone. Every time it's different. I try and pick a different one. Got a lovely bit of amethyst today. But I will sit and fidget with this. Like, you'll see me fidgeting in this, but I'm going to keep this in my pocket at the event, because trying to stand still and smile and be polite and do all of that, active listening, I find really, really, really hard if I can't fidget. I feel twitchy. I feel like I have to move and I can't just be dancing while someone else is talking to me. So I'll take this, keep it something I can fidget with in my pocket. I love a gemstone. If you forget this, if you're going to Brighton for Develop, go to the beach, pick up a pebble, stick it in your pocket. It's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to find my own special Develop stone when I'm down there. Another thing is I will be taking my loop earplugs. So the ones that I have got are the conversation ones. They're super wee. They've got a little pod, and I'll just keep that. Usually this is in my purse with me everywhere. And I'm getting better at remembering to put these in when I get overwhelmed. It's good because it doesn't cut out all sounds. Sometimes if I'm overwhelmed, I don't actually want to listen to music. I just want to shut everything out. And just having these in means I can still hear the person in front of me, but I'm not having to focus quite as hard because it mutes a lot of the noise surrounding. And often that is where I will feel exhausted. So yeah, 2 very important neurodivergent packing essentials for me now is the loop earplugs and a fidget stone or a fidget something, just so I can stim and I can move a little bit without feeling antisocial, because I'm always playing, I'm always fiddling with something, and often that is really tricky when you're supposed to be standing still. So let's talk a little bit about food and drink, because that's really important and it warrants its own little section. They're the things that often get completely neglected, will go on autopilot, and by day 2 you feel absolute shit. I feel absolutely shit. I used to feel even more shit when I drank alcohol. Oh my God, I'd usually be hungover on day 2 and just not good. So I've already mentioned your calendar, but please book lunch in your calendar, book a break, like really, please do it. It's like a meeting with yourself. And if you don't protect that time, something else is going to book over it and you'll end up just grabbing a bag of crisps or something. If your blood sugar drops, your mood's going to sink. I know I usually end up really low energy and I don't clock that I'm hungry a lot of the time. It's one of my neurodivergent traits, but I won't clock that I'm hungry because I'm so excited by everything that's going on. I often won't clock that I'm thirsty either. So make sure you're blocking in lunch and make sure you are eating something healthy, something that's good for you, and your energy then will not drop. It'll help you get through the afternoon, and then do the same for your dinner as well. And I mentioned, snacking, like try and eat as well as you can. It's not easy, especially when you go to big expos, like the big convention halls. They're often just got quick food, junk food, like UPFs. And look, I know often we do have to just default to them, and sometimes they can be delicious. Like I'm here for a massive pizza or something like that, or some chips on the beach. Delicious. But the more healthy you can be, the more you can keep yourself full of all the good nutrients, keep your protein up, all of that stuff. Make sure you're eating veggies. It will help you feel better. It will help you keep your energy up. It will keep your brain clear, and it will help you not spike and crash. I'm really bad for that. If I get tired, I will be like, I just want comfort food, and I'll be like, I'm having pizza, I'm having ice cream, and I'll get a sugar rush. I'll probably have caffeine with it at the same time. I have a massive coffee. I'll get such a rush. And then an hour later, I'm like, oh God, I've got nothing. And so I know I need to eat healthier and not give in to the temptation, because otherwise I'm going to completely crash and burn on day 1. Keeping snacks with you is a good way to help with this as well, just to help get you through those longer sessions. Something that isn't just con food. Like I'll often go to a supermarket when I arrive anywhere, usually when I'm traveling in general, and I'll go and buy some fruit, some nuts, just a little bit healthier things, maybe a protein bar that I can just keep in my bag. And I find it really, really helps. So we've done all our prep, we've packed well, we've got everything we need, we've got done a little grocery shop, and we've got there, we're locked in, we're ready to go. And now it's the event. So how are we going to get through? It could be a couple of hours for an event if it's just an evening one. It could be a multi-day conference, right? And the longer these things are, the more exhausting they are, especially if you've got long travel. So let's talk about during the event. I want you to give yourself permission to leave sessions early. And that's a tricky one, right? But if a talk isn't what you needed, it is okay to leave. Do it quietly, do it respectfully. If you're not sure, don't sit right at the front and then have to do that awkward walk of shame. That's not nice for the speaker. If you're not sure, sit at the back. And if you need to leave, do it quietly. Just sneak your way through. You don't want to sit there for 40 minutes going through something that isn't serving you just out of politeness. It's okay to leave. Just do it politely. You don't have to talk to everybody is another one. Like, networking events create this huge pressure of, I've got to meet 100 people. I've got to talk to everybody. I've got to chat to everybody, regardless of whether or not their business or everything vibes with me. And I've done this in the past, right? And it's utterly, utterly depleting. It's not like Pokemon. You don't have to collect everybody that goes there. It's not like getting your Pokemon, collecting every card, every business card from somebody, all the LinkedIns. You don't need to meet with everybody. Remember your goals. Remember your plan. Who do you want to meet? Who is it that is someone that's going to be a good contact where you can help them? Think quality over quantity, and that'll help you conserve your energy too. Try and have an exit line ready. This is something I've always struggled with because the people pleaser in me and the RSD kicks in where I don't want to come across as rude. But sometimes you will end up in a conversation with someone, you go, this isn't relevant to me. Or again, I mentioned it in my ADHD episode last week, but sometimes I'll get stuck in conversations where someone's monologuing at me and I just don't know how to leave. And it just saps my energy. It's like an energy vampire. Try and come up with exit lines. I have a couple written on my phone. I'm not going to say what they are because I want to save those for if I need them. But try and have a few of them, right? You don't want to be having the same ones. I used to often have the one of like, sorry, I just need to go to the bathroom. I need to scoot before my next session, right? You can use that once. You probably can't use that 10 times. Otherwise, they might think there's something wrong with your bladder. But like, it's useful to have just a few. Okay. You can just say, hey, look, it's been really nice to meet you. I've got another session in a minute. I need to go grab a coffee before that. So hopefully I'll see you around. Just step away, right? You don't have to be rude about it. If someone's not vibing with you, you can find a polite way to close the conversation. But also if it's someone you really like, but you do have another thing on, it's okay to say so. It's okay to say so. You don't owe somebody like destroying your schedule or missing a session, right? Just do it in a polite way. Again, it's all about doing things the polite way. You've got to set and hold your own boundaries. You've got to do what you need to do at a conference. You don't get that time back. You've got to optimize it for what you need to do. So just be polite about it and come up with a few of those. Try and come up with like 3 or 4. And if you've got them on your phone in your notes, you can sort of check back on them and almost like rehearse them in your head so that you've got one ready to go. Another quick tip for during the conference is find a recovery spot. So quite often I'll do a little scout out. I quite like to get there early on like the first day and just mooch around and find somewhere where not many people go. There's usually like a quieter corridor and somewhere off to the side. Maybe it's a bit of outdoor space. Sometimes there's a little side room. Sometimes conferences are great and they have a quiet space or a neurodivergent space or like a prayer, meditation, mindfulness space. Sometimes there's a place where you can go and you can just decompress. Try and find one of those. And if you're feeling overwhelmed, just go use that space, even just for 5 minutes. Taking that time out will often give you just enough energy to go back in. I did this the other year when I was at Develop. And I remember a friend, I'm not going to say who, but every friend in games. And I was sat to one side and they came over and they looked at me and they're like, are you okay to chat or do you just need a few minutes? It's like, I do need a few minutes, but you're one of the people I'm like who doesn't drain me. So feel free to chat. But it's funny because I was giving that aura of I'm clearly sitting away from the crowd for a reason, and that's okay. And usually people will check. So yeah, definitely find those little recovery spots, scout them out ahead of time. And again, I just want to make a little very clear note for people who are neurodivergent, right? These things can be exhausting. They can be exciting. They can be great. Like both things can be true, right? You can have a great time, but also be exhausted. You can be having so much fun, but also be a little bit masking, right? It's okay if you need to take a break. It's okay to skip a session. It's okay to ask someone to postpone or move a meeting. It's okay just to go and sit somewhere by yourself. You don't always need to be on 100%. You're not missing out if you do that, right? You're not missing out. What you are doing is you're conserving your energy and you're just helping yourself get through it. If you find that you're masking heavily, your battery is going to deplete much faster than everybody else's. So, where possible, try not to mask. I know that's hard to often do, but especially like games industry, there are so many of us who are neurodivergent. And I think the more of us that are open and honest about our struggles, the better, the better. So just try and be mindful of your mask. Don't overdo it and build in a bit of recovery time for you. And honestly, take noise cancelling headphones, take loop ear pods, whatever it is you need to do, take those. One of the things I want to chat about in terms of conferences is imposter syndrome. Many people get imposter syndrome at a conference because you're often meeting people, you go, oh my gosh, like I've seen your work, it's so exciting. Or you're at a talk and you think, oh, people like are going to judge me, or, you know, maybe you're doing a little bit of a pivot, or you're moving from like QA to production, or you're doing a little tangent. Maybe you're new into the industry, right? Maybe you're a graduate. Whatever kind of event you're going to, if you're a startup founder going to a startup event or a conference, like if I go to a podcasting or like an author or writing conference, oh my God, the amount of imposter syndrome, because I feel like as much as I do it, I've not been doing it for 20 years, right? So it's something where I still get the imposter syndrome. It's so easy to go to these events and compare yourself to others, right? Everybody's presenting their best versions of themselves, their more polished version, their more professional. Many of us will be heavily masking, even if we're trying not to. It's so easy to look around these rooms and feel like I'm the imposter, I'm the fraud. But please remember that imposter syndrome is something that many, many people feel. There are a lot of people who you will look at and go, God, they seem really confident, but underneath they're really nervous. So please don't feel like it's just you if you've got imposter syndrome. Like, imposter syndrome's horrible, but sometimes it can make it just feel a little bit easier. It can take the edge off it a little bit. Just to notice it, like, yeah, I'm feeling a bit of imposter syndrome, but likelihood is a lot of people in this room are as well. I've talked a little bit about skipping sessions and being okay with that. But honestly, like FOMO for conferences is awful. I often get it with parties, right? Because most nights there are 2, 3, or 4 different choices of parties and you don't know who's going to which. You've got no idea. Also, I don't drink, and by the end of the night, I'm going to be exhausted. So I'm probably only going to do one party an evening if I've got the energy for it at the end of the day. And I might just swing by for half an hour and be like, do you know what? I'm going to go back to the hotel, recharge for tomorrow. It is so easy to get this FOMO about the parties, about the conference sessions, about all of these things. There's always something happening and you genuinely cannot do it all. You're not going to attend everything. You're not supposed to. Conferences aren't built for you to attend every single thing. They're built for you to pick and choose the things that are genuinely interesting, useful, helpful for you to attend. So just choose what matters the most and don't worry about the rest. Let's talk about one of the biggest challenges I have at every networking event. I mentioned it again in the ADHD episode, and I didn't realize it was most likely a neurodivergent trait, but remembering names. Oh God, remembering names. If I meet somebody new, unless they've been presenting and I've been able to like clock it for a while, or if I've met them a few times, it's fine. But somebody new, if I meet them, I am not going to remember their name. It's awful. So what I have to do is I have to write it down. I will take, again, mentioned in the ADHD episode, I always take a little paper notebook because I can't rely on my phone, chance on the battery will die. I will take my battery charger, but it feels more polite to have a notebook than to be on your phone when you're talking to someone, right? If you take a little note, go, oh, I just want to note this down so I don't forget it. A notebook, a piece of paper often feels so much more polite than making a note on your phone. I don't know why, because it's the same thing. But it feels like you're actively listening when you're using a notebook and noting down what someone's saying rather than just on your phone scrolling something, even if it is just your own notes. So note people's names down. And my hot tip for sort of trying to remember people, not only write it down, try and think of something you can connect with them over, whether it's neurodivergence, whether it's a common product, tech, game that you both love. Find something you've got in common that will help anchor them in your brain. And then if you connect with them on LinkedIn, which is where most of us are these days since Twitter became an absolute cesspit. Many of us don't use Twitter anymore. But if you go on LinkedIn, connect with them. And what I will often do is message people and I'll say, hey, it was so nice to meet you at insert event name. I really enjoyed our conversation about, I'd love to hear more about your startup, your game, your project, your podcast, your book. I'd love to chat more to you about neurodivergence. I'd love to, whatever it is where you resonated with them, do that. You can often do that when you send the connection, right? So note down the name during it, and then afterwards send the connection with the message, because then that's going to jog both your memories when you're both meeting so many people as to, oh yeah, we connected over this, and it helps that conversation continue. But also, if you don't chat for 6 months or a year, or you might think, how the hell do I know this person? Like, I've met them. I have this all the time. I'm terrible. I often joke about it with my friends. I'm like, how on earth did we meet? I don't remember, because my memory is so bad, right? If you do this, it's going to give you that link and it's going to stop you constantly puzzling. It's like, oh, I remember, like we met at Develop, like we shared like a cup of coffee on the beach, like we chilled. So try and do that. Try and send a little follow-up message and do that. My key here is don't rely on your memory, because even if you're neurotypical, there is so much going on in a day. It is so difficult to keep track of anything. Your brain's going to be full. Capture things in a moment, write them down, and do a little end of day follow-up. Just do a little quick check-in, say hello to people. And if any of them you do want to schedule a coffee with or a chat with over the coming days, that's when you can do it, right? Now, one thing I want to talk about with conferences is that whole, are you going with colleagues? Are you going with your workmates? Are you going with friends? Are you going on your own? Sometimes it can feel safer to go to events when you're with your friends, when you're with your co-workers. And it can be a little bit more intimidating when you're there on your own if you don't know people, right? So if you don't know people and you want to meet friends, but you don't know how, try finding some of the events. Many conferences or events will have side events. Like Develop has a metal meetup, right? I'm totally going to go to that one. There's an ADHD meetup. I'm going to go to that one as well, because I'm like, cool. They've got topics not related to the game industry or a specific thing, but who I can chat to these people about these. We've got a common connecting thing just going in. It makes it so much easier to have a chat. And usually at a conference, people are there for a common reason, right? It could be a tech conference, they're there about tech. Could be startups. If you go to a startup meetup, it might be that they're a founder, but it could also be that they're an investor, an accountant, a lawyer. Just find out why they're there. Find out what brings them to the event. If you struggle with that, maybe write down a few questions, but be brave. I promise you, most people, especially if they're stood on their own, they'll probably be quite happy to have a chat, unless you spot them maybe in a quiet area, in which case maybe give them 5 minutes. And also just to say, if you are going with colleagues or friends, sometimes it can feel like there's this underlying pressure of you have to spend every moment with them. And, we can often love our friends. We can really, really enjoy time with our colleagues. But if you're anything like me, you need that time to recharge. There is nothing wrong with saying, hey, look, I get overwhelmed, overstimulated, super exhausted at conferences. I need to take a little bit of time each day just to reset. So I'm going to do that at dinner, or I'm just going to do that at lunchtime. If you verbalize it in advance, it stops you doing it in the moment. And this is where I think I definitely think I have ADHD, because if I get to a level of burnout or exhaustion, I can be quite blunt. I can be quite rude with it and be like, I'll just walk away. Or I'll be like, no, I need to go do my own thing. And it can come across really blunt if I've not preceded that and said in advance, hey, look, I get overstimulated, I get overwhelmed, I'll get exhausted. If I feel like that, I'm going to go take some time for myself. It stops the other person feeling like it's their fault, or or they've done something wrong, or they've upset you. So just verbalizing it ahead of time, it makes it easier for you in the moment as well if you need to do that. If you are speaking at a conference or at an event, or if you're hosting, that can be a very different thing, right? That adds a whole new layer. Oddly, I find speaking at an event easier than attending because I struggle to do the small talk. Again, neurodivergence, I think. I'm really bad with small talk. But if I find a common thread or a common theme with someone, I find it easy. What I love about speaking is quite often people come up to you at the end and they will ask you a question, or people come to you. I find it so much easier. So much easier, which again, that might surprise people, because often I think in the past I've masked or I can seem quiet, and it's not that I'm an introvert. It's just that I overthink and I don't know what to say. It's the neurodivergence kicking in. So I absolutely love it when people come up and ask me a question. If you see me at a conference, I might have resting bitch face. I might look so like, but it's just because I'm not masking, right? Please come over and have a chat. I would love to have a blather. Like, please come and have a chat. I would love to meet anybody. If you've listened to any of these like podcast episodes, or if you've seen me on LinkedIn, if you've got ADHD, neurodivergent, you just want to come and have a chat, just come have a chat. Like, especially if you're struggling with burnout, come have a chat with me. Like, that's what I'm there for. I'm there just to meet people and to talk about the stuff I care about. If in general, though, if you are speaking, it can be quite difficult if you're new to it, or if you don't yet have the confidence speaking, because quite often you'll feel like you're performing, you're masking. You might be masking a little bit of pretending you don't have imposter syndrome. You might be masking your nerves. Your energy is going to drain really quickly in that situation. Your recovery needs are going to be higher than the average attendee. So here's a few tips for helping you get through it if you're a speaker. Obviously, knowing your presentation, what you're going to say, know it well enough that you're not going to have to think about it on the spot. Definitely do that. Remember that whatever you're talking about, if it's your game, your startup, your technology, your passion project, your podcast, your personal experience, your burnout, you are the expert in your presentation because you're coming at it from your own perspective. Nobody in that room knows what you are talking about better than you. Even if you're just talking about a specific technology, you're coming at it from your own lived experience, and that's different to everybody else's. So just remember that if you mess up, nobody in the room really will know. You'll know, but nobody else knows. If you make a mistake, just carry on. Most people aren't going to remember it. What they're going to remember is the one good tip, or the way you made them laugh, or it's just something different you did to break the ice. They're not going to remember any of your mistakes. We always like demonize our own mistakes more than anybody else will remember them. Find your room, wherever it is. If it's a stage, if it's a small corner, if it's a meet and greet area, wherever it is, find it before your talk. If you can do it a few hours in advance, great. Just go there, scout out the room, get the vibe, know what the room looks like, know where the microphones are, know where the screens are, know where things are. Just go into that room, get the vibe, and just try and relax in that space as best you can. I know it's not easy all the time, but just try and do that, because if you do that, the space is going to feel familiar. If nobody's in there, go walk to the front of the room, go stand there and look back, because then when you step on stage, it's not going to feel like, oh, I've never been here before. It's going to feel like, oh, I've been here. It doesn't make it easy, but it makes it easier. So before your talk, go a few minutes early, go 5-10 minutes early, go find your room again, go get a glass of water, go to the toilet, go to the bathroom, have a snack, do whatever it is you need to refuel, especially if you're neurodivergent and you don't get those body cues. So make sure you're doing all the things you can to make you comfortable so you're not panicking at the end. After you speak, try and give yourself a proper break. Now, that can be difficult if you get absolutely mobbed with questions. If you get mobbed with questions, you know you've done something great. But quite often you'll get people come up to you at the end and they'll want to chat. Now, that adrenaline, the buzz is going to carry you forward. You can maybe set aside half an hour to chat to people, set aside 20 minutes, whatever it is. But make sure you leave a bit of time, whether it's half an hour later, whether it's immediately after, to give yourself chance to go and go, unwind. unwind, because you're going to get a peak and then you're going to dip and you'll maybe need to decompress a little bit. Okay. Just make sure you give yourself that time. Don't shove a meeting in 20 minutes or half an hour after your talk, because if you get sidelined with questions, that's going to be there. Set aside a 15-minute coffee just for you, a 15-minute walk outside just for you. And again, just be kind to yourself. No matter how it goes, you're always going to be your own worst critic. Just remember that most people are not going to notice your mistakes, okay? They're going to remember the thing that resonated with them. So whether you're speaking, just attending, right, you've got through your day, and or your 2 hours, however long this event is, right? After each day, particularly if it's a multi-day conference or a multi-day event, make sure you do a little bit of decompression before you socialize. Now, often conferences are going to have dinners, networking drinks, parties, multiple parties. If you're going to go straight from the show floor, the conference, the bar, to more bars, to dinners, to social things, you're going to be running on fumes, and you probably won't be the best version of yourself, right? You might be just running on empty. And those conversations are not going to be the great ones. And so if you take a little break and you come back to it, you're going to feel much more energized. You're going to put forward the best version of yourself. And then you can leave when you're ready. You can leave when you're ready. Put your loop earplugs in if you're struggling in the moment, if the bar is loud. But leave when you want to. Don't overstretch yourself. Pace yourself, because if it's multiple days, you want to go into day 2 feeling energized. You don't want to go into day 2 feeling absolutely awful. Just looking after yourself before those evening sessions, but then also leaving and knowing when to call it is going to set you up for success. Remember to write things down, especially if it's at a party, especially if you're drinking. Write everything down. Again, I like a notebook. But just write down the names of people. Maybe there was one thing that stuck out. Like if you're going to a party and you're like, oh, I'm going to struggle to remember the names of those people, even if you've met them before. It's something that I always struggle with. Write down the names. Be like, oh, at this party, these people are there. I'm going to want to try and find them at that event. You can often see that on Eventbrite or on LinkedIn. You can see who's going to most things. So just write those names down so that you remember their name in the moment. I've touched on alcohol a few times, but it might sound silly, but try not to drink too much. And I'm saying this without judgment. Like, many conferences rely on drinks. Drinks can be a great social lubricant. I used to drink at conferences a while, and I did find that it really, really helped me with chatting. But these days I don't drink. That's on purpose. I cut out alcohol 6 months ago. If you do drink, just try and limit it a little bit. The drinks culture at conferences can be intense, especially in the UK. Like, we are so, I don't know what it is about UK culture, but we are really big on binge drinking here. Just try and be mindful of it. Alcohol is going to disrupt your sleep. It's going to compound dehydration. It might make you do or say things you regret. I've been there. I've done it many times. Most of the things I've regretted in life have happened as a result of drinking too much alcohol. Drink what you enjoy. If it does help you to have a drink or two, if it helps you relax, by all means. But just be really mindful to not overdo it. And I've mentioned this with the alcohol, but with caffeine and everything as well. But protect your sleep. Like, hotel rooms, oh my gosh, the beds are never quite right, are they? It's always something a bit weird about the mattress. Might be too warm, might be a weird pillow. You might be getting back to the hotel room late. You're probably overstimulated. None of this is going to give you good sleep. So do what you can just to protect your sleep. It's honestly, protecting your sleep is one of the biggest life hacks. It's so, so important. Try and keep your room cool if you can. Make sure the room's dark. Make sure you pack like cozy jammies, something comfortable. Try and limit your screens. Maybe take a book to help you unwind from the day. Just something really easy. Try and unwind. Maybe do some breathing practices, like box breathing, something like that. Just try and chill out for that 30 minutes or so before bed. And, most of us could cope with a bad night's sleep. Most of us can get through it. You'll just have a bit more coffee the next day, right? Have a bigger breakfast. But if that happens for 2 nights, 3 nights, you're there at a multi-day conference, that's going to compound, and it's going to feel like you're in survival mode by the end of the conference. So just try and protect your sleep. That is the best thing you can do for yourself at these things. And so, look, congrats, you've survived a conference as best you can. You might still be exhausted. I guarantee, even with all of these tips, I'm still going to feel quite drained by the time I get back home. So here are some tips for after the conference, right? Build in a recovery day. If you can travel back the next day and do it slowly, you can just chill. Maybe on the train, if you can travel slow, read, listen to a podcast, listen to music, zone out and stare out of the window, like stare into the void, do whatever you need to do. Build in that recovery day. If you're going home immediately, have a jammies day. Have a day where you can binge watch something on the telly. If it helps for you to work out and just switch off from social media, go do that. Do whatever it is you need to do. You know in yourself what helps you recharge. Do that. Do your hobby. Paint minis. Do whatever it is you need to do. If you want to play video games for 8 hours, go play video games for 8 hours. Your brain needs time to recharge. Your body will need time to recharge. Like even just walking and standing can be quite strenuous because you're probably doing more in those days. If you let yourself do that, you're going to recover better for work. So say if you're doing a Tuesday through Thursday, you're probably not going to work your best on the Friday because you're going to be hyped up. You might be overstimulated still. So just give yourself a slower day on that Friday and come back at it fully on the Monday. Do your follow-ups. If you've not managed to do them during the conference, you don't have to do them immediately. Try and message within sort of 48 hours. If the conference ends on a Thursday, follow up on the Friday or the Monday. Try and do it in that short enough period of time where it's catching people's attention. It will land better than sending a LinkedIn request like over a week later where maybe that context is missing. But you don't have to do it on the taxi home. You don't have to do it walking home to your hotel at the end of the day. Just give yourself space if you need that. And give yourself a chance to process what you've learned, right? We're learning so much at these events. And without that processing time, your idea is going to evaporate. So one of the best things that I do for myself is I will go for walks. It's something that I've been doing since my ADHD diagnosis. I go out for walks now without my phone. I try and do it most days. I'll get out for half an hour without my phone. I'll take a notebook. But by doing that, I'm not distracted and my brain isn't on, and it lets me process. Quite often my best ideas for these podcasts come from just going for a walk. So this is what happened with this one. Yesterday I went for a walk thinking, I'm just going to see what happens. I just need to decompress, going to go listen to the birds, going to get out in nature. And as I was walking around, I thought, oh, I've got Develop next week. Wonder what I'm going to pack. I should pack different things based on the ADHD diagnosis. I need to make sure I'm taking my little stones and my headphones and my earplugs and all of this. And I thought, oh, maybe I should write a podcast episode about this because so many of us burn out like when we go to conferences, when we go to networking events. And that's where the idea for this came about. And I got home buzzing with ideas. It's because I gave myself time for my brain to be empty. So try and find time for that. And also just be kind to yourself because, conferences are exhausting. You might well have a post-conference crash. I know I probably will. You can often feel a bit flat after these things, low, maybe a bit empty because they're so overstimulating. There's so much dopamine and novelty. There's so much going on. And you get home and not only are you sort of maybe recovering afterwards because you're exhausted, but there's less stimulation, right? You've been operating in this like heightened state, so much more social, cognitive stuff going on for days. It can be a bit of an anticlimax coming back to the real world, right? So just be mindful of that. Know it's okay. Know that you might feel a little bit more exhausted, a little bit lower. Don't worry, it'll pass. You'll be fine. So with all that in mind, let's come up with one small action you can do. This is what I've been doing to help me prep for this conference. I want you to write down 1, 2, 3 things you want to get out of it. Small list. Just so that you know your goals, so that you're not going to overstretch yourself. And then block in a little bit of recovery time. You know in yourself how long you need. Maybe you're an absolute social butterfly and you can keep going like the Duracell bunny and you can race through it. But for many of us, we can't. So just block in a little bit of recovery time if you need it. Maybe it's at lunch. Maybe it's at the end of the day. Just block those in and see how you get on, see what difference it makes. And if you're neurodivergent, remember, pack something to fidget with, pack a notebook, and pack some sort of headphones, earplugs. Don't forget them. these are going literally straight on my little packing pile that I'm going to start now, because otherwise I will forget them. All right. I hope that helps. Conferences, look, they can be great. They can be exhausting. They can be both things, but they don't have to destroy you. They can be really fun. They can be energizing if you go about it the right way. Protect your energy, protect your spoons. Don't overstretch yourself, and give yourself permission to do it in your own way, to take breaks, to go and sit in a quiet corner if you need to. Just do what works for you, and then you'll get the most out of it. If this has helped you at all, please do me a huge favor. If you can drop me a little comment, if you can share it with someone who's maybe going to a conference and they struggle, that would be super, super helpful. And if you see me at a conference ever, if you see me at a networking event, I enjoy going to them. Like I'm learning how to make them work in a way that works for my brain. And I love meeting new people. So please do come and say hello if you see me out in the wild somewhere. I would love to chat to you. If you're not going to a conference, but you want to chat about this, or if you've got any requests for episodes that might help you in the future, any topics, anything like that, drop me a message over at gothboss.co.uk/podcast, or drop me a comment. I try and reply to most of them. And yeah, all those common topics, I'm going to queue them up and prioritize them, because yeah, I always say that if this episode or any episode can resonate with just one person and help one person, then I feel like it's a success. So yeah, please do send me over your requests. And as always, just a final reminder, I'm not a licensed therapist, psychologist, doctor, accountant, lawyer, any of that. I'm just a recovering people pleaser who's worked super hard. I've survived many, many burnouts. I've survived many conferences. I'm that person who's hit the top of the career ladder, realized I've got ADHD, and noticed that actually doing things the same way as everybody else, it just doesn't work for me. If any of that resonates with you, please do join me on this journey, and we're going to get through it together, one small step at a time. Thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully I'll see many of you at the conferences that are coming up over the summer. If not, I will see you here next time. Bye.